It's a really important topic because a lot of people don't realize just how much fatherlessness puts people at a risk. I was talking to a friend the other day about families and how, like, what happens when they get broken up, and people don't realize, like, a lot of women will go out and be like, oh, I'm getting this and this is going to be better for me, and they'll leave their family behind, not realizing that they're making themselves vulnerable. They're opening the man to attack. They're opening the children to be, abused or neglected. There's so many things that, are in place for a reason, the way that God instituted it for our safety and our well being. And it works. Like, there's proof in the pudding, it works. Every single time a family is broken, men get exploited financially, sometimes even sexually. Believe it or not, women get violated and passed around by multiple people because other men watching what's going on see that what she's done is treacherous, so no one takes her seriously, so she just gets passed around thinking she'll get something better, thinking quantity is quality. And then the kids suffer because now there's no one really to protect them in the same way, and they don't have that same structure and discipline and order, and it's really effective. So we need to get back to those things, but we have some clips that we're going to look into. We're going to get into that, but I think one of the main things that people don't realize is the importance of good husbands and good fathers, like the value of that, honestly. Yeah. That's just me, though.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of go back and we're gonna start back on something that we looked at. We're gonna look through some series of clips on this, and I went back and I mean, we'll just play it. You'll see it.
I remember the first slap across the face, and I was sort of just, holy shit, like, this is real. They never said that they're gonna ask me on camera, did I ever get touched by a family member when I was a kid? I had no preparation for that. Like, they literally put the camera in my face and asked me that.
So this, yeah. Go ahead.
That's sick. That's insanity. That's honestly, I don't know what, like, I can't understand the mindset. I'm smiling right now because, like, I'm irritated, but, like, I don't understand the mindset of somebody who, in the act of sleeping with you, their mind goes to, have your family ever touched you? I would be so terrified. Like, not even I would be, my blood would be boiling. I'd be praying to God that I don't go to jail because I would want to do unspeakable things in that moment. And being slapped in the face, honestly, man, there's just things that you just don't do. There's just things that you don't do. And to me, I'm like, this is why a lot of women in my generation, Gen Z, are not having sex. And they talked about it. Lisa Ann, we saw the clip of her talking about it, how Gen Z statistically, they have the least sex, they're having the least children, they're doing the least drugs, but off street drugs, they're doing pharmaceuticals. So this is part of the reason, because they'll sleep with someone and they'll experience something like this, and they'll be like, wait, what the hell? What the hell?
Yeah,
And I've heard stories of, the hitting stuff. I've not heard stories of someone asking in the moment, has your family touched you? That's crazy.
yes.
That's
No,
crazy.
yes. Now let's go listen to this woman here talk about something else.
Well, first and foremost,
I'm just playing.
you sitting on the hottest couch in the nation right
Yeah,
now.
I'm in the casting couch. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's going on in Chicago. Now, what you know about a casting couch, though?
I don't know nothing about it. I just see videos. Sometimes I nut to those ones, you know?
Really?
If they turn into a little sex scene, it's hot.
Okay. But tell us where you from, though. Where are you traveling from?
I'm from Maryland. I live in Baltimore. I'm from Montgomery County. And yeah, it was a quick little flight. It wasn't that bad. I missed my flight, you guys. I missed my flight. I stopped at Chick-fil-A, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks. Yeah, and I got to my gate 2 minutes late. They left me. It's fucked up.
You was hungry this morning.
I was shooting a YouTube for my daughter.
Oh, okay.
She does YouTube.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was trying to make it exclusive and I
Okay. Okay.
but it's all good.
Okay.
I'm
cool.
here though.
And like I said, we're grateful for you to be here. So we want to get to know Jenise, the freak, funny Jenise, Jenise Hart.
Period.
You know, we see you on the internet, we see you on Twitter, being both funny as hell and freaky as hell. You know, you a very talented young lady. So, you know, around what age did you start indulging in porn? When did you start watching porn?
I started watching porn when I was like 6.
Really?
Young.
That's
Yeah.
very young.
Yeah, very young. It was very accessible. Like, I remember magazines, VHS tapes, white CDs. You know the little white CDs with the, you know, it's just white. You know what I'm talking about?
Big booty
And you pop it in. No, it don't even got nothing on it.
But you know it's a porn?
It's just bland. That's how you know. You don't got nothing. You just pop it in. It's like, yeah. So it was very accessible. But I found myself like masturbating's really.
You said it's accessible. Like who? You 6 years old, so who?
My parents had
Okay.
it.
Okay.
My dad, they weren't together when I was, as far as I remember, but my dad, he had VHS tapes, he had the computer. My mom, she had CDs and just all types of magazines and shit. It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first like nutted for the first time, I tried to show my sisters and they couldn't do it. And I was like, damn niggas, I guess it's just me. And then I've just been, I don't want to say freaked out, but it is like that. That's how it was. Because once you for the first time, it's like, damn, every day. You don't even want to do nothing else. You don't want to do nothing else. But like, as soon as I'm about to get out of school, it's like, yeah. All right, guys, I'm going home. I do what I was about to do. You want to go to the grocery store? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to watch the DVDs. I used to get caught so much. That's the craziest.
Getting caught masturbating?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so awkward. It just make you feel dirty, like,
Yeah.
damn.
I've never got caught masturbating, but I can only imagine the embarrassment.
It is, because I had to lie, make it seem like that was not what I was doing. And then my mom, she found the DVDs and she would hide them, and then I have to go to like movies, like Belly, The Wash, like the sex scenes from those. It's lit. I could still to that.
Word. So around what age was this? I know, because you said you first saw porn at 6. Now, so what you want busting at 6?
I did.
Oh,
yeah, my
okay.
first one. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I remember it very clearly.
I didn't know the human body can do that at 6 years old.
Yeah, I wouldn't make that up either.
I believe you. So what we talking about? First grade?
I was in kindergarten though.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's deep.
Why is he like okay with this conversation? Why is he not like, oh my god? Like, why is he not taken back? Like shocked? Like, are you okay? Do we need to call somebody? Like 6 years old. And honestly, this is why rapists rape children. This is why they groom children, because they've done interviews on pedophiles and they ask them, what do you look for when you want to abuse a child? They say, first, a family without fathers, second, a family without God, and third, families who have similar as the other two options, because that child will groom the friends to do what they're doing. Did you hear the sister say she learned to masturbate at 6 from watching the stuff, and then she showed her siblings, so she was grooming her siblings to do the same thing? Because what does a kid do when they find a shiny toy that they like, or candy or snack that's delicious? They want to share it with all their friends. They don't care what it is. Look at this great thing I discovered. Yay, let's all do it together. Whole time they're all certifying abuse and trauma together. This is so common. She doesn't even realize that she's just saying this casually out loud, not even like it's not clicking for her what she's even saying. Like she doesn't even realize that this is also technically a crime because you cannot actually engage in that stuff with other children at a child's age. This is
Yes. So
they do this to kids in foster care to rape them. Like they
yes,
she,
yes. And so now we're gonna go back because this girl now she's been watching pornography from a kid, and it then just violates her and gets her in that bad situation where she's already starting to sexualize herself after seeing the pornography. Now listen to what this girl has to say. Remember that some of these guys have probably grown up watching pornography.
I mean, you got to remember, like, this was 9 years ago, the first time I shot with them. And I've tried to just move on with my life and not be tied to them. Like I have a career outside of porn. I've done a lot over the past 9 years. So just mentally kind of looking back and remembering everything that happened in that moment, it's a little hazy, but I remember that did make me uncomfortable just in that pre-shoot because they were trying to act like they were my friends, like, oh, we're on your side. They kept emphasizing you're a pretty girl, and it's not real. We like you. But once those cameras are going, we're not your friend anymore. Like we're in character. And like maybe trying to hide the fact of how rough it really is. It is a little disturbing, because a lot of these women that shoot for them, especially in their off sites, like ghetto gaggers, and we'll get more into that. A lot of these women are a little desperate, I think, for fast money, and they're not really realizing like what they're actually getting into. So I don't want to say I think I was a little naive, like working for them at the time.
It's kind of a bit of a mindset, though, isn't it? Like
it is.
This is not real, so it's like because it's not real, we can say and do anything we like. Like when did that become like something that would happen in any other part of the entertainment industry? That you can't. Like, exactly. If it's in the script and you agree to the script, it's different.
But the thing is,
and this is where they started to lose me a bit, really.
Yeah, and the thing is, I didn't know the exact things they were gonna say to me. Like once, and this is the really disturbing part. Like down the road, I realized, like psychologically, they're not telling me how they're gonna make fun of me in the video. Like they just said they're gonna say mean things to me, they're gonna make fun of me, they're gonna insult me. They never said in that pre-shoot interview that they're gonna ask me on camera, did I ever get touched by a family member when I was a kid? I had no preparation for that. Like they literally put the camera in my face and asked me that. And I remember I was
disgusting,
shocked. Like while the camera was rolling, I'm not prepared to answer a question like that. And they literally know that. They know that as a young woman, I'm vulnerable, and they're trying to get women to admit things on camera when they're in a vulnerable position. And I think that's really disturbing, even like...
I would go further.
What?
I would go further. I would say that it's the same thing that happens in domestic abuse situations. What they're doing is trying to break down the girl's sense of self, just because that's what you do. You break down her self-worth so that you can do whatever you want with her.
Exactly.
And
Totally.
in the questions they said like, I'm going to ask you some personal invasive questions. I'm going to ask you more up questions. Like I might ask you, why did you sit on your uncle's lap? We want to get a reaction from you.
Yeah.
They really emphasize that they want real reactions.
Totally.
Now, my problem with it is that like they're showing that you've consented to this, but for me, that's not consent because in a BDSM situation, yes, you can role play very abusive situations. You can role play very humiliating situations where you use lots of bad language and humiliating things. You can be very insulting. But in a BDSM scene, and I mean scene like that you have privately with your partner, you agree the language that you use with each other. Like I've been with girls that want to be called a bitch or a slut, and I've been with girls that may be slut's okay, but bitch is bad, because these words can be triggering, and you don't want
Totally.
to identify as that. And you certainly didn't agree to be on camera with this kind of emotional abuse. And
Exactly.
so for me, this was not consent. This was like theater. It's not like if it's consensual, why not give you a script? Like you can still react to it in a real way, but agree and improvise around those points. So it's but you can give a script like we're going to ask about this. Is this okay? Is that okay? Because that's what BDSM is. It's an agreed scene.
Exactly. And I'm trying to think, there was actually a checklist.
I've got a list of the things if you want me to go through. So the next thing he said that stood out for me, he said, once the guys jump in, my best advice is brace yourself. It's a shock if you haven't had it at the level that we do it. Now, the reason I pulled this out, you might have a different opinion on it, is for me, this is not how consent works in BDSM. You can't just say, this is the level that's expected. So I've had girls in my private life that like face, not something I'm particularly into, but I can do it if needed. I start gently, I go harder and harder until they reach the limit that they want. Like that's consent, like the boundary setting, the slowly figuring. Now, if they'd spent time at the beginning of the shoot to say, okay, let's just figure out where your level is, I would understand that.
Yeah.
But they haven't. What they've put out is not consent, in my opinion, even though they think it is.
Yeah. This is what's going on, right? Hello. They're putting people in there and saying, well, this is what you're going to do, and that's really it. Too bad, right? Too bad. And that is I can't, no, not at all, not at all. Thoughts?
Yeah, man, that's just disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
that's not, yeah.
It, it's evil. It's
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
It was so bad. Like listening to this whole thing. Obviously, don't have the whole thing, but listening to this whole thing, it's this woman. I mean, I feel sorry for her. I really do. And the people that did this, really bad. We're gonna go and we'll come back to one of her clips, but she talked about people that were she talked about, they asked her if she'd ever been touched before, and so forth, which is extremely inappropriate, right? What happens to the people that were in that situation, right? What
Yeah,
happened?
sorry. The thing about it, to me, it seems like what they're trying to do is to gauge the natural response to see if the woman has been victimized by that type of abuse. Because if they are, then you can do more abuse to that type of person and you're going to get a natural response out of them in a vulnerable moment like sex. What they're doing is extremely disgusting, because if if you didn't ask in a vulnerable moment like that, the response is going to tell you everything you need to know, and then you can target that person further. I mean, obviously, yeah, there can be the discussion of, porn is, not good anyways. But what two people come together and agree to do is very different than what these people are doing. They're creating a circumstance in which this, like, women will expose themselves about very personal details that will make them vulnerable in a way, not just to the person in front of them, but people that are watching. Like, that is a whole different, and then they're going to get abused more. And then they did, like, they did. So that is a mental kind of, that is psychological, like, abuse. Like, I would rather be beaten, severely beaten, and than have something like that, honestly.
Yeah, I said yes. I said let's take a short commercial break and we'll come back to some clips.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
So if you need any of the MyPillow products, go to mypillow.com/Karis or call 845-2942. Use the promo code Karis. I mean, they got good stuff there. Go check it out. Yeah, they got beds, bed sheets, bath stuff, kitchen stuff, good slippers and all that stuff. Go check it out. Support a good cause. Or you can support with the links that you see in the ticker below. They have the donor box, the Give Send Go. If you're watching on Rumble, BitChute, or Facebook, you can see the links in the description. Or you can go to all my links / the Karis Project. We've got a number of ways for people to support should they want to. We're going to kind of roll back and we're going to listen to this. One of these women, she's talking about her experience, like, being violated by a bunch of pedophiles. So let's listen.
Would you say you might be traumatized from watching porn at such a young age?
Not traumatized, groomed, but not traumatized.
Okay.
I don't think that kids should be watching porn for sure, because it can mold the mind crazy. Like, I didn't even know sex was for the pleasure of females. I thought that sex when I was growing up was just for men to please men. So I learned, like, at 22 that that's not how it goes.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it traumatized me. I was molested though, but I don't think porn traumatized me. A lot of other things traumatized me on that path.
Okay, so like what? If it wasn't porn, was it the
Well, the first time I had sex with a grown man, and I got pregnant the first time I had sex, and then I had to get an abortion. So that kind of me up. That was like started my downhill spiral. I got into a fight. I was on probation from 12 to 16, in and out of juvie, and just wilding out, I didn't understand what was going on, but clearly I was crying out for help. It was crazy. So.
Now, Do you have any siblings?
I have 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 2 older, 2 younger sisters, all girls. My mom had 5 girls, and she was a single mom. So, yeah.
And what's your relationship like with?
I don't talk with my mom.
Okay.
I don't talk with her because she put me in a lot of traumatic situations, and she's not ready to come to terms with that.
Okay.
And she's really religious, and she feels like, she doesn't have to apologize. But she told me that she apologized to Allah, or she talked to Allah, and Allah forgave her. And I was like, that's weak as hell. So,
Yeah.
I moved on from that. But I stopped selling because I realized that it did come from a place of trauma. And I stopped with older niggas because I realized that came from like a daddy issue type of thing. So I'm healing, and I'm very self-aware, but I ain't no victim. I'm not gonna carry it like I'm a victim.
Right. Right.
Keep it moving.
All right. So at least she does understand it's grooming. But she doesn't think saying that she doesn't think the porn affected her is not realistic. But she said she doesn't want to be seen as a victim. And the problem is, I think a lot of people, they're so afraid of confessing that something happened wrong to them, because then they feel like everyone will pity them and be like, oh, I'm a victim. Oh, poor me, whatever. Just because I acknowledge that something bad genuinely happened to me doesn't mean I'm expecting you to pity me. The only way that you can actually move forward in life is if you actually dissect the problem of what actually happened to you and acknowledged just how bad it was, or how good it was, whatever, if it's a positive or negative thing. You need to understand what's going on, and if you don't, you're not going to progress past that. You're going to be blinding yourself saying that, oh, I don't think children should watch porn, but it didn't affect me. Well, then children can watch porn. Like, people need to realize what they're saying and what they're doing when they're doing things. And this shows how damaging it is, because there comes a certain level of, I don't like delusion with it, with being abused that way, where you don't want to admit it.
Yes, and we're gonna listen to some more another clip from her before we move on, and just keep in mind what she says here.
But a lot of things happened. That happened, and when I was like 15, I was in a little gang bang with like 8 grown men one time. It was crazy.
Wow.
And then I was on house arrest, and I was supposed to go to this anger management class, and I didn't go. I went to this gas station, and these niggas picked me up that I didn't know, and I went to their house. They gave me Grey Goose and orange juice. I never had that, and they just niggas kept coming in. And then at one point I looked up, it was just niggas standing around me. It was crazy. But they knew I was 15 though. Mm-hmm. That's like something that I always stress. Every nigga knew how old I was, and they didn't give a so.
Because they feel like, well, I don't know what they feel like, because I would never do no shit like that.
That's what I be saying. I be looking back. Like, I came to the realization that I was pedophiles. I'm like, God damn. When I look back, like now that I'm self-aware and engaged in self-healing, I look back and it's like, I a lot of pedophiles. And it's crazy. You just never know who's a pedophile. Well, I don't post my kids on the internet or nothing because you just never know.
So, pedophiles, it sounds like pedophiles are more common in our community than we may know it.
Definitely. And in family. So just growing up, there was a lot of rape, incest, and molestation in my family growing up. And, like I said, that was a situation my mom placed us in because she knew that those type of situations happen, but she still let us go over there. Like, she forced us to be over there. So it's kind of crazy.
Okay.
Yeah,
for sure.
But you live and you learn. And I feel like that generational curse has been broken with not just me, but with my siblings. Like, we're not going for that. So.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with that woman, right? Now imagine that woman. They have a woman like her who is being molested. what do you think happens if she comes out and says that? They know she got way less boundaries because look, she's 15 years old. She got gangbanged by 8 grown men. She's
raped.
yes,
That's
raped, gang raped. Sorry, gang raped
yeah.
by 8 grown. This, like, this is insane. This is insane. This is insane. I don't even know what to say, right? Like, this is the kind of stuff. And what was the girl's mother? A single mother,
Yeah.
right? A single
Yeah.
mother.
And women
Go
cover
ahead.
this stuff up all the time. Women will find out their kids are getting raped and they will cover it up, or they will just, it'll make them feel so bad that they will try to just avoid it or just like pretend it didn't happen or sweep it under the
She
rug.
said that her mother
She
put
took
her
them
in some of
over
these
there. Yes,
into some of these
forced them
situations.
still to go over there. Yes, I see. Honest to God,
It's no different than the mothers that are serving kids up to that gender ideology to get groomed and sexually abused.
I would have never been raped in foster care if my mother wasn't so wicked. Like, I understand having a mother who's going to intentionally put you in a bad situation just because. Like, no good reason whatsoever, just complete carelessness. No, man. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, those people need to be in jail. Like, they're, and
So when you see
whatever.
some of these girls losing their minds, it's because they're getting raped all the time, right?
Exactly. This is what I'm telling people all the time. Like, this is what I'm telling people when, like, these red pill people are like, oh, this girl has such a high body count. She was raped by pedophiles.
No,
She had sex with pedophiles.
I'm not even
Like,
just talking about those people that just go in there. They show you all these black people fighting and stuff like all the time. A lot of those
but
people are just getting.
I'm talking about. That's what I'm getting to. The fact that all of the different elevated levels of behavior that they're complaining about is because they are traumatized from being raped. Or
Yes,
consistently.
and it's just happening to everybody because single mother families, high incidence of your child being molested and raped. So boys and girls. So what do you think you're going to have if they've been just raped and not get help? Right?
And remember what she said. She watched the porn and she was showing her siblings how to masturbate. That's grooming them as well. That's also abuse. If there's no father around, who the hell's going to stop this behavior?
Or if he's a father who's got a porn brain, he's finished anyway. So So let's go back to Felicity now and listen to what she has to say.
Because they're saying, this is what we're going to do. This is our style. And just brace yourself.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I think you make a really good point, because one of the very specific things I remember, and you got to remember, like, being so long ago, the video, I've mentally kind of compartmentalized some of the things that happen because I don't really want to remember. But I did find it disturbing that, like you said, you don't realize really the physical intensity that it's going to be. I mean, they should have maybe had some, like, a warning where the male talent could have showed me, like, how hard the slapping is actually going to be before.
Again, that's you are supposed to do that. Like, you're supposed to start with a gentle slap, and consent is you telling him how much harder you want it. Like, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. Oh, a little bit too much there. That's what you do in BDSM. You boundary setting, working within your limits is so important. And this, I know you referred to it as BDSM scene, but for me, this doesn't even look like how any BDSM would work in your private life or in porn.
I agree. You know, and there was no physical warning really before, you know, it was kind of just.
I feel like they wanted you to be surprised.
Yeah.
They wanted you to be shocked by it, I think.
Because they want to create, they want to capture that shock value on camera. And that's what these type of taboo companies, I think, are looking for, because it's real. It's real. And I mean, what I was going to say before, I do remember there was this one moment where they were throwing me the Polly Harker, and it got so extreme. Like, I was choking, like I couldn't breathe. And I had to use my hands to push back on his thighs because I literally like needed air. And when I kind of put my hands on him, he just said, "Don't touch me, you bitch." Like, you know, and went harder. And, you know, like when, not to be so graphic, but when you have something lodged in your throat like that, I couldn't talk. Like, I couldn't say stop, you know, I had to kind of push myself off of him. And it was a little scary, honestly, because I was
It's like torture. It's like being waterboarded with a dick.
Yeah, I was in pain. Like, I was actually scared because I couldn't breathe. And then just kind of having that physical reaction, like, oh, whoa, I got berated at for trying to sort of protect my body. And it made them want to go harder, which that was really disturbing. I remember mentally.
It's a crime. It has to be a crime.
Yeah, and I felt like, well, I don't want to say stop because I want to shoot a good scene. Like, it was psychologically confusing because I wanted to be a good performer, you know, and I wanted to kind of, I don't know, be entertaining, right? Like shooting for them and do a good job. But I also knew that back then there was a lot of kill fees and things like that, where if you didn't shoot the scene, you wouldn't get paid. I mean, some of these girls, like, if you try to walk off set or you realize, like, oh, this is too much for me and you can't finish this scene, they won't pay you. Like, they won't pay you the full rate. And I remember this was something called...
Facial abuse pays zero, they said. They said they pay zero if the girl quits.
Yeah, and so I was scared. I was scared that, like, you know, if I couldn't finish it, that my whole time there was for nothing, you know? And I really needed the money at the time. Like I said, you know, I had bills I had to pay, and I worked a 9-to-5 job and was trying my best as a young kid to make money, but I made the entire trip there. I paid out of pocket to get there. You know, I had to finish this scene, and they know that a lot of these women are in that position. So that was confusing because, you know, and like I said too,
these people put up a website to defame this woman and plaster what they did to her on this website. That woman was raped. Rape is the word for that. And the people that did that belong in prison. That is sex trafficking. It is abuse to no end. Like, and she talked about the ghetto gaggers. That's even worse, and they're black women a lot of the time, right? Black women, like the woman who got raped as a kid. And this is where they ask these things so they can go and violate the people even more. And they these women have no idea of what they're walking into. They're in desperate situations. Some of these girls had to sign this stuff under the influence of drugs, which you can't sign a contract under the influence of drugs. And then, well, if you
can sign a
don't,
contract under duress.
exactly.
You can't, like, you can't,
And then if they don't finish, they don't get paid. And a lot of them, they're like, well, how do I get that? So they have to sit there, take the rape to get money.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. They belong in prison.
yes, they do.
They
Yes,
belong in prison.
they belong in prison 100%. Now imagine if that 6-year-old kid is watching her getting raped or another woman getting raped in a violent manner like that, where she
That's
talked about
pretty much what most of porn is that people in my generation have seen. Most of the porn is what looks to be like a very aggressive, almost rape kind of. Nobody's watching the 90s or the 80s or whatever sensual, romantic stuff. Nobody watches that. The documentary I was telling you that we saw before, like they said it went from like, way back to when it was first came out to women being natural looking and them being romantic scenes to, someone shows up at your door with like a bunch of men and they just, or whatever, and they just do whatever. And then the girl takes it. And like the one girl just said, she thought that her body was meant to be used by men because in this pornography they don't show an equal distribution of pleasure or whatever between men and women. It's just women being violated any way possible by men. That is actually true. For the most part, yeah, I think that's very true.
yes, let's just run through this clip here and then we'll wrap up this one and then we'll come back on the other side. I want people to get a little bit more and then we'll go back to some of the other girl, her experience, and understand why they ask these types of questions.
One of the also really disturbing things that I found was that when they asked me the question of basically like, did I ever get molested as a kid? I wasn't prepared for that. And, what if, God forbid, like I did go through something like that when I was a child and these men are trying to get me admit something so personal on camera. Like no one's prepared for that.
It's horrible.
It is. And like they even said I was like a deer in headlights, like when they asked me and the camera's like this close to my face. I mean, it just no one is expecting that, and like they don't tell you that they're gonna ask you like that specific of a question. They also just tried to make me look so stupid. Like I remember they asked me a question about skateboarding that I said the wrong answer to, and they kind of just were making fun of me, like trying to be like, oh, this doesn't know what she's talking about. And they just want to make you look as stupid as possible on camera. And that,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't find that
It's horrible.
as
It's
real
horrible.
consent. Like, it's manipulation. Like, they're manipulating these girls saying, like, oh, yeah, we're in character. We're going to make fun of you. But they're not directly telling you, like, what it's actually going to be. I mean, in a lot of the videos on their site, they are just ripping on girls' bodies, just humiliating them, making them feel so worthless. And for me, because I'm an attractive woman, like they didn't have that much that they could say to me from a physical standpoint. Like they were trying more to just make me say super vulnerable things. So, but in other videos, like they're basically telling these women how ugly they are. And I'm sure these women like didn't know that they were going to go to that level where they're just psychologically breaking them down.
The way they do it, it just seems like it's like because they're paying you and they're getting you to agree with it and say it's acting, that they can just abuse a woman legally.
Totally.
But
and it wasn't acting.
I just want to go through a little bit more of it because I made loads of notes on this consent video. I know it's like ridiculously pedantic. So they said, if you throw up, you throw up. We hope it does happen. And for me, like, the fact you're puking is deliberately pushing someone past their limit. Like, I don't understand how puking can be consensual. Okay, it can happen by accident sometimes, but so long as you're doing the boundary setting, it should be quite a rare event. And if you look at other porn companies, they used to keep it in sometimes, or they'd put it in the behind the scenes. But generally now they edit it out because they see it as a non-consensual act, because it's evidence of someone being pushed past their limits, and they don't want the legal risk.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah, and it's tricky because, you know, even the name of their company, right? It has the word abuse in it. You know, I mean, like it's
that's what it says on the tin. That's like, it really is abuse. It's not BDSM.
Yeah,
it's not a humiliation fetish. Where like public disgrace is a humiliation fetish.
Totally.
And you consent to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what she described they done to her throat, someone done that to me, and I threw up, and they kept going. And then later continued in other places. Like, that was so mentally and psychologically violating to me that to this day I am like throughout the day uncomfortable like that. I used to get beaten multiple times a week by my ex-husband. I was hospitalized many times because of how badly he beat me. I almost died. I would rather go through every single beating he ever gave me than what that person did to me. That is another level of like psychological, like but it's like, I can't even go to the bathroom without like cringing because of how disgusting the things those people did to me was. Like, there's no way that anybody is consenting to being violated in their throat so badly that they throw up. The pain and like, oh my God, I just like, that makes me sick. Like,
let's close this segment with a prayer, and we'll be back on the other side. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope you've given us. Give us the strength to do what is right. And Lord, I ask of you this day to watch over all these women that are being abused and the men that are being abused, and stop these wicked people that are abusing people, and help the men to stand up, to work with the women, and they submit themselves before God to rebuild their families, their churches, their community, their nation, and to protect the children from this grooming and this filth and abuse. And Lord, give them some protection and safety is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, God, for your prayer as always. Yeah, this is disgusting, man. This is not consent at all. This is 100% rape. I don't care what anyone says. This is evil beyond belief, and those people belong in prison for the rest of their life. They deserve so much worse. Anyways, if you're watching, stay tuned. We'll catch you on the other side for part 2. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for your time and considerations, and to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, and we will. Ciao. Hey everybody, Kaysha here. So today I want to talk to you a little bit real quick about Tina Peters' case. So on April 9th, 2024, myself, Maureen Steele, and Ann Vandersteel all went into the state of Colorado to file a petition for redress of grievances. Tina Peters actually also signed this petition. In fact, she actually had exculpatory evidence related to the election fraud that was outlined in the petition that was not allowed to go into the court. The petition was not brought to the floor, and as a result, Tina Peters was unlawfully imprisoned. My father, Dale Richardson, was actually tortured in the state of Colorado to suppress his evidence of treason against the United States, which was based on improper engineering controls which allowed for the spread of the COVID-19 virus, which was likewise created at Wuhan by Peter Daszak and the EcoHealth Alliance with the pathogen, which were handed over to the Chinese by the Winnipeg Biolabs. This created the circumstances for widespread election fraud. My father Dale and I are friends of Tina Peters, who has been politically persecuted for standing up for the liberty of all Americans. And she, as a sister in Christ, has been persecuted like I have for standing up for the liberty of all people. In the state of Colorado, women and Christians are being persecuted on monumental levels, and I'm calling for everyone to stand up for Tina Peters in every way possible, including using the Karis Project action plan to compel the state government to put the petition for redress of grievance to the floor so that Tina Peters can petition before the state house that belongs to the people. And if Colorado continues to deny a Republican form of government, we will implore that Congress and President Donald J. Trump initiate Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, which guarantees a Republican form of government, to the states and use that just power to intervene and provide what the Constitution has ordained. The time is upon us to come together and stand united as people, and let the world know that we stand together to preserve this perfect union for all Americans and our posterity. That is why, y'all already know, I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are going to continue on this and tell people to share this information out. This is the kind of stuff that we deal with and help people who are having situations like that. That is absolutely disgusting, what I saw in there. And that kind of stuff breaks my heart, right? Nobody should be in that situation. And they're exploiting people. I was reading some of the articles of what they were doing to other people. They had people that were on drugs and stuff like that and got them high and all these types of things to come in and do that. And the worse they think your situation, the worse your treatment is. That woman, it was like she was going to die. Like, I mean, that is, no human being should be ever put in that situation. And these guys are slapping this all over the internet to humiliate this woman by parading her rape on the internet. I'm sorry, that's wrong. I don't care who it is. You don't do that. And how many other women? Go ahead.
The fact that they had shoved themselves so much in her throat, blocking her ability to breathe, and then making her throw up, and she's trying to push them off because she's scared. Listening to that whole thing, just felt traumatized because it's like I was seeing myself in that same situation all over again, because I had the exact same thing happen to me. And the fact that my worst fear, because I know the fact that these people recorded stuff, but and put them places, and the person told me, but the fact that people are watching this happen to her and they're parading around being able to just make money off of her abuse like this makes me sick, because I have a stroke all the time. Randomly throughout the day, I'll be minding my own business, doing nothing. And then I'll get a flashback, and then I'll think to myself, how many people have seen that? Wow, great. not only do you have to deal with the trauma of the event itself, but the fact that somebody somewhere is watching it and just okay with it, and nobody's getting justice for what happened. That is so sick and so evil. Like, it makes me sad.
And this is the thing, all of these people that are going around and chasing my daughter down and all that kind of stuff, they're protecting people who are doing things like this, like what these women
Yeah,
are describing. That is
yeah,
what they're protecting. And
because
I don't care what your hurt feelings are. People get killed from these kinds of things, and this is sadistic torture. What the
yeah,
anybody's going through this, right?
yeah, like these people, like they done what she said they done to her, they done to me. Like, and the slapping, the spitting, if you don't do something like a certain way, they'll hit you harder and harder and harder. One of the persons tried to convince me to let them pee on me, and I was like, I will genuinely go to jail today. Like these people are so sick and so evil. Like, nobody in their right mind, like the psychological. And when I said, because I was living with Judge Joe Brown at the time, when I said that I would call him, they were like, oh well, if he really cared about you, you would never be in this situation anyways. He's not coming to help you.
Yeah. So
And he's the one who introduced me to that person, by
oh
the
yeah,
way,
oh yes, and so
and
and
made me stay at their house over and over again because he wanted to have dates and sleep with people.
yeah, he didn't. He that yeah. Anyway, let's go back to the next clip.
So it sounds like at some point there was something that clicked in your head that said, okay, I need to change the type of life that I'm living.
Yes. Well, not really the life that I'm living, but it was just like I was in a really dark space. I was homeless like in 2020. I got evicted and I was in an Airbnb and I was manifesting really hard. And it's like you have to heal during manifestation. You can't just ask for something and get it. Like, you have to do the work. And I was doing a lot of self-work. I was high as hell doing drugs. But through that self-work, I realized a lot of things about myself. And I had to let a lot of things go. I stopped selling. You know what I'm saying? I stopped, being very promiscuous and, seeking a lot of attention from random males. But I went through a really dark place with that because I didn't understand how to make money outside of selling my body. Like, it was very difficult. That change is hard.
So how long were you selling?
Since I was 15. So 15 to like 25.
Okay.
15 to 26. So I stopped in 2021. In the beginning of 2021 was the last time. And it was $3,500. But it wasn't good, and I realized, like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you could do something else. So then I started doing comedy. And people always said I was funny, but I was just like, you can't make money off doing that. So, yeah. But now here I am, making money off it.
Yeah, your story is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Your story is crazy. It's a blessing to hear, you know? It's a blessing to hear it come from the horse's mouth. You feel me?
Thank you.
Imagine now that those guys are doing that to a woman like her who's being gang raped by a bunch of pedophiles and being passed around to pedophiles. Didn't know, like, I mean, all she knew was raped by grown men. What do you think is going to happen to her? Going to be a lot worse than what Felicity experienced, right? This is why they're doing that in that vulnerable situation, and they're like working them over to get them into that heightened state, and then do that. That is that's that's disgustingly evil.
Oh man, it's not even funny, but like, it's not funny, but I'm just, they really pass people around. And I'm just thinking, people were really passing me around. It's not funny, but what the frick? Like, people, the fact that this world is so heartless, I guess all I can really do is laugh at this point because this world is so heartless and so evil that this stuff was happening to me so publicly and nobody cared. Nobody. The fact that this stuff happens to these girls on camera and it's being sold and nobody is doing anything, like, I don't even know, man.
Yeah. And now
How kind of world we're living in, man.
we're going to go back to listening to the clip here of Alicia, and she's going to weigh in on something that's going to kind of be pertinent to this, because now when you're looking at, if she that one girl, Jenise Hart, if she was watching porn at 6, imagine how many kids now are watching it at 6, and what is it doing to them. So let's listen to what she's saying here.
And at the time when I was in that industry, it was like, it's part of the job to keep your mouth shut. You know, I wasn't telling on people. But now I'm like, you want to send me a dick pic? I'll send it right to your wife. Like, have fun with that. Like, I don't check my DMs, so like, I haven't seen any of your dick pics. Haha. Sorry. I haven't opened a
There's like an ocean of men going, oh,
yeah,
man.
they're like, I mean, I sent her so many. I thought she was loving them. Like, sorry, I've seen enough dicks. Like, they're not impressive to me. Like,
An ocean of men just sighing like,
but the way that like they take them to, like, you guys,
dude, Whitney told me that that's a business, and I was blown away. It's ratings.
Dick
so like,
ratings. Oh yeah,
yes,
oh, yeah.
dude.
And, oh my
I
God,
didn't realize.
You gotta learn to read these people because you gotta get them to want you to buy another one. So you gotta like know if they want, like, there are guys who want you to humiliate them. You have to like figure out what it is that they want.
What
do
do
they
you
need
want
you to
me to
stroke their ego?
say?
Yeah, like you have to like try to
It's
figure
not
out.
that small.
None of it's honest. Like you just have to say what you think that they want to hear to give you more money. And like, I mean, and that's the reality of the industry. And like there's the men that understand that, and there's the men who really think that like, I mean. And I don't want to blow it for them. Like, if that's the only intimacy that they're going to get in their life, like, I don't want to ruin it, you know, but...
Do you mind if we... okay, so forgive me, because I don't want to do, like, whiplash about, like, changing topics.
Yeah,
but one of the things I did want to talk to you about is just that industry. Its role in both the micro and the macro, both its role in individuals such as yourself. It allowed for a certain lifestyle for you. It allowed for a path of financial prosperity. But, like, also, at the macro level, like... You know, has it hurt more people than it's provided for? Has it caused more division and more strife than it has for coming together and prosperity? So let me start with this question, broad. Mm-hmm. Do you think that porn? I'm now.
He's got him getting marks too.
It's gonna be a bunch of editing. Do you think that the corn industry has been a net neutral, meaning no difference either way? Mm-hmm. Positive or negative?
Absolutely negative.
Absolutely negative.
Yeah. I think, like we were talking about before this podcast started, we were talking about like, you know, whatever, 40 years ago when they had like, you know, corn magazines.
Playboys.
Yeah, magazines that were just naked women who were like of age and
Rest
looked
in peace,
of
Hugh
age.
Hefner.
Yeah, and it's like, at some point, we lost the ability to jerk off to like a grown woman. And so now we need a girl with braces who looks like she's 12.
Bold of you to know what I can jerk off to.
And you want to see, no, the numbers of what sells. Nobody wants to see two grown-ups that aren't related have sex. Let me tell you.
That's kind of...
It is what it is.
It's a reflection of needing to up the ante.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Like, what I've tried to tell people this like my whole career because I learned it myself really early on that like I have to like reset. You know, like you can't just watch weirder and weirder and weirder shit. At some point, there's a line where you're gonna cross a line. You know, and into something that's illegal or something that's like horribly wrong. You know, and so, but people...
Forgive me, can you elaborate on what it is that you're saying? Because some people might be listening to this and go, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so some, maybe like people start off watching like a girl video. And like that's enough for them. And then all of a sudden that's enough. Now they need like a boy girl. Now they want to watch a gangbang. Now they want to watch like a scene. Now they want to watch like whatever. The only thing that leads to eventually is kids and animals. You know, or like violent like that are real, you know.
Or it gets to the point where like now these acts are illegal by our society.
Right. And morally incorrect. And I think that the industry,
Reprehensible.
yes, I think that the industry pushes that boundary very, very, very closely.
On purpose or by
Absolutely
accident?
on purpose.
On purpose.
They put these, like, man, when I came back to the industry, like after I had quit for a couple years, they had like this guy, I don't even remember his name, I wouldn't say it, but he looked like he was like 8 with Down syndrome. And he was like one of the major like Brazzers stars, and like they put him in a little backpack, and I'm like, dude, this is like,
it's awkward
legal
for you.
This is legal pedophilia, and anybody who works with that kid, he was 27, but he looked like he was a child, and I'm like, anybody who works with that person, like
So they were going for a specific look.
Oh yeah, and they do that a lot. It's usually a lot of it's the other way around. They want the girls that look super young and with their daddy or whatever, and like so I did plenty of those scenes, but I didn't feel.
Forgive me, when we say super young. Because the majority
they're illegal, yes. They're the girls who actually work in my industry, my old industry, they're illegal. There is also a bunch of shit that's not legal, that's not our industry. It's just illegally made shit of underage women that are all over Pornhub. And so, either way,
I didn't know any of this either.
It's terrible. It's so bad. But they got in a lot of trouble recently. I had to delete like
Pornhub,
all of them,
the companies,
Pornhub
everybody
is actually better now. Pornhub, I guess.
I think we can say the name of a company.
Yeah, it is a company. Okay, so they are actually better now because they had to delete like more than half of their content.
Wow.
Yeah, because
when was this?
Visa a couple years ago. Visa and MasterCard had cut them off because they're like, we're
not going to supply this
child stuff. Yeah,
I did not know that.
So they had to go through and like get rid of everything that wasn't like very legally uploaded with IDs and all this stuff, and everybody knows who everybody in the scene is, and so it's actually the better place to go now, or it was at least a couple years ago. Yeah, whereas like X and XX and all those other like, dude, I have stumbled across some stuff. I'm like, I don't think that girl is old enough, but it's hard to tell because I've met some of these girls that are porn stars, and I'm like, please stop. You're too young. I mean, even if you're 36, you look like you're 8. Like this is not okay. Like, do you realize who you're pandering to?
Yeah.
And then there's the argument, like, people...
Slippery slope, right?
Yes. So I've done plenty, like, daddy-daughter stuff, but, like, I look like I'm 40. I'm covered in tattoos, and I had, like, huge fake tits that I don't have anymore. But I was like, nobody's being fooled by this. Like, so I didn't feel uncomfortable with that. When they wanted
I don't know if you can adequately say that.
What do you mean?
That nobody's being fooled by this.
I mean, that nobody thinks I'm underage. That's what I'm saying.
Forgive me.
Yes,
Okay.
nobody is like confused
Correct.
that I'm actually.
Yeah. Like this could possibly be illegal.
Yeah, they're not fantasizing that. They're like, this is a whore, like with pigtails. Like, now when they try to have me do the other stuff, the like stepmom stuff, I may have done like 1 or 2 scenes, and I was like, that's f***ed up, and I'm not doing it, because that is more believable. And I think that that's totally wrong, and it's not something that needs to be pushed, and it's all that's pushed, really. It's like incest, like age differences, like nobody wants to watch 2 grown adults like have sex with each other.
Yeah. This and what she's talking about was exactly what Felicity was experiencing, and they're saying that they want to see real abuse, which is what was happening. Felicity was exactly describing. And then the girls, like what Jalissa was explaining, she was a recipient of a lot of that pedophilia. What happens now when they're all getting indoctrinated to see that? Because she was getting slept with by grown men. What happens to girls and boys that see adults sleeping with children? And that's what they're wiring themselves to. They are preparing them to be raped by adults. And then they get the crap beaten out of them when they go into these kinds of things like her, because if she had opened up and something like that did happen, she would get way worse treatment, because they know that she'd been groomed for that kind of stuff after being raped as a kid.
Yeah, that's exactly it. People who have been sexually abused or like groomed, and like it's going to be easier for them to do certain things to them. Yeah, like it's a natural response. Even like a lot of people, when they get into that situation, if you've been abused, because you've been trained to just sit there and take it, your body just naturally like freezes. And on top of it, if you really think of it, if you are a smarter person, you're more likely to freeze, I think. And the reason why is because you're going to start calculating the risk of what's going to happen if you fight back, or like how Felicity was saying, okay, well, I might not get paid. Okay. And she spent all of her money to go there. Okay, well, if I don't just sit here and take this, I might not have an escape. Then what will happen? But if you're in a situation where you know you've kind of been like, if this is what's happening now, and I fight this person, something that's going to cause a problem, I might end up in jail, and these people just end up free anyways. You, like, in today's world, if you defend yourself against a rapist, you can go to jail. And this is so, a person who has more emotional control, or like thinks a lot more about things, they're probably more naturally going to freeze, because they're like, you know what? This might be an L, but it's the least of the L's that I'll take if I retaliate. And that's the reality of the situation, because this is how disgusting our judicial system is right now. You should be able to just, in a moment like that, you should be able to just defend yourself or make it stop, but you can't.
Yes.
Not legally.
And so we're going to bring up another clip from Felicity for her to discuss a little more about what went on with her.
I mean,
And I've seen people on that shoot, and they have loads of fun. But this doesn't look like fun. Another thing they said, there's 3 positions of face. On your knees, head hanging over the couch, lying back, and what they called road head, where you're on your knees between his knees, I think.
Yeah, when he's sitting down. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, for me, the one, obviously some are more dangerous than others, but where the face part was the most problematic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and this was crazy looking back at this, because I remember, I have actually, that was really like the first time I ever did that level of deep throating. Like, I never experienced that in my personal life, and I have a good gag reflex, I guess, which I kind of discovered that when I was shooting for them. But it was actually difficult for them to make me throw up. And I believe they kind of commented on that in the video. Like, they were just, saying, oh, there it is. Like, the stomach is churning. And they sort of made these remarks like, oh, she's finally gonna get there. Like, it was a challenge for them to make me vomit. And it just, I could feel...
Or just to keep pushing until you did.
Yeah, I could feel their intensity getting stronger, even physically. Like, they were kind of starting to go harder and harder, like, to get me to that point where I'm throwing up. And I finally did, and I remember one thing too, they are also, they were known to feed the girls certain things. Like, they kind of, what's it called? They encouraged the girls to eat certain things before shooting the video, because they want the vomit to look as nasty as possible. And
they said they used the puke as a prop.
Yes,
is what
totally.
you said in the interview.
And then, like, they even want girls to eat their vomit. I mean, it's just, it's disgusting. And, like, I did not agree to eat my vomit. Like, to me, I thought that was nasty that they would even want that. But, like I said, they want to capture the girl. The girl's doing the most degrading things possible to show almost like, oh, wow, these women are so desperate. Look what they would agree to do just to make some money. And it's not even like you're getting paid that much. I'm trying to remember the exact rate, but it was under $1,500.
When they said we use puke as a prop, that bothered me, because They're like, oh yeah, we might, pour it over your head or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like telling them this is what we do. It wasn't, are you okay with this? It was just, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I was just going to say one thing too. Like, I specifically didn't eat anything before shooting. Like, I just drank water because, like, I didn't even, like, I was avoiding vomiting. Like, I don't like to vomit.
Exactly.
I mean, it is harmful for your esophagus. I mean, the acid reflux, like all of that, like it's not healthy to vomit, and they know this. Like,
yeah,
and
they
just
forced you to vomit. Like, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
You didn't really have a choice about vomiting. It was just,
yeah,
this is what we want you to do.
exactly. And like they were getting frustrated that I wasn't vomiting. So when I finally did, they were just like, oh, there it is. Like, they were just emphasizing that we finally got her to vomit, like it was a sport to them. It was a sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what they enjoy, and that's what they make money with. So it's like,
Yeah.
the way I see it is, it's like a collective abuse. Their fans are paying them to abuse girls legally, kind of legally, because they haven't been arrested or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know what to say. Like, this is rape. There's no other way to describe it other than rape. And they, after this girl spoke out, they went after her. They put up this website. There was a guy. He's actually a J6er. He's a independent reporter, and they went after him too. These guys, they need to go to prison and never see the light of day. Right? And there's a lot of other people that are doing this kind of nonsense. This is absolutely absurd and abhorrent what is going on. Right? You have anything to say before we take a short commercial break?
No, I agree, man. These people should never see light ever again. Quite frankly, they should be buried under the prison. In my the stuff just like, and because I also had people for years telling me that nothing bad happened to me. That's also a different level of mental trauma and torture, because they probably had the same thing, so they can't even acknowledge the fact. It's probably hard. You could see it's hard for her to even say that she was raped. He's the one saying that it's not consent. She's a great, like, it's hard for her to even verbalize that.
Well, because they just destroyed her mentally.
Yeah, they just destroyed her mentally. Like, those people are, that's the most evil, disgusting, like, things you can do to somebody.
Yes. Anyway, let's take a short commercial break and we'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
All right, if you need any of the MyPillow products, go to mypillow.com/Karis or call 1-800-845-2942. Use the promo code Karis. They got lots of good stuff. They got beds, bed sheets, bath towels, bath stuff, kitchen stuff, all that good stuff. Support a good cause. If you want to support the fight against human trafficking, you can support. You see the donor box coming up in the ticker, or the Give Send Go, or you can go to the links that you see in the description. They've got all different types of products. If you're watching on Rumble, BitChute, Facebook, we also have merchandise and so forth for people who are wanting to deal with that. So let's bring up this next clip and so forth, and we will see what this woman has to say.
Been through a lot of stuff.
I just want people to not feel sorry, but I want you to watch your kids and definitely put yourself in a position to where you can monitor your kids. Because a lot of times these mothers, the father is gone, these mothers have to work hard, the child is unsupervised. And it's like, that's a dangerous situation, especially nowadays. Back then it was kind of dangerous. Not everything was so accessible, but nowadays it's too much access for children to be unsupervised.
For sure.
Just with the internet.
For sure.
It's crazy, like.
For sure.
So I shelter my daughter way too much, and there's a lot of stuff she just doesn't even know. And I feel like she's way too green. So I try to put her in like a all black elementary school so she can learn, you know what I'm saying, from them. But she's so green. Like, it's crazy how green she is. Somebody could kidnap her because she think everything is bubblegum and lollipops and butterflies. It's crazy.
Now, do you ever think of the day she'll wander upon one of your videos?
I speak to my daughter about everything. Okay. I've caught her watching porn before, and I explained to her, like, I whoop her ass, but I explained
Hold on. So you caught her watching porn? And you whooped her ass?
I whooped her ass, yeah. And then I explained to her why it wasn't a good thing, you know what I'm saying? Because she really sees, like, the glamour. She knows that a lot of people know me, and a lot of kids feed off of that. Like, just now, a lot of kids are building self-worth based off of likes, views, and things like that. They're not really, it's not really coming from their parents or their, you know what I mean, themselves. So I let her know, like, I was exposed on the internet, and that's why I got into porn. This wasn't like, oh, you just start doing porn because, you know what I'm saying, somebody exposed me. And so I was just like, it, you know what I'm saying? Let me just get into it. But this is something where my body's going to be on the internet for my whole life. It's never going to come down. People are never going to forget that I was sucking online. So I tell her, like, it's not really the right decision to make. You know what I mean? And I just tell her, like, I do this so you can have whatever opportunity, you can do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, I'll pay for that. But the last thing that I want her to do is what I do. And I don't think that she will, because what I do comes from a place of trauma. A lot of sex workers are sex workers because of trauma and poverty. So you don't really see too many people at the top just jumping into porn unless they want to get to the next level of things. You know what I'm saying? So all I can do is be there for her and create a space to where her father is successful, so that she can look at him and feel like, I want a man like that, not look at me and be like, I want to be like her. You know what I mean? It's important that her father is there, especially during this stage. She's 10 years old, so it's like, right here, he needs to be there. Like, 10 years old going up, yeah, he has to be there making decisions. So, yeah.
What she said right there is exactly why nobody helps me. Because they know if they help me, I will make a way and you will never be in that situation. Every person that didn't help me did it to keep you in a state of poverty so that you could be abused and exploited. Every person that changed hands, like Lisa and Jason, who came to me, then took you and brought you there and put you in that situation and were creating that chaos. They were molding you to be put in a situation so that they could abuse you. And always trying to blame you and everything else like that, just like Joe Brown did, just like those pedophiles did. They all did that and pushed you in places where you were going to be exploited, because when you're left in those situations, just like the woman in California that just got out of jail here, they left her with nothing so that she would be exploited. This is how sexual exploitation occurs, facilitating the sexual and financial exploitation of someone, and people are materially benefiting from it, that is trafficking. And every single person that was involved in this, they are going to have hell to pay. Because this is the reason why you're seeing people even getting bold on it and raping people on camera. Right? That kind of filth needs to end.
Yep. And the things that they, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And the things that they were trying to convince me to do while having people do this stuff to me is actually insane. Like, it's psychological warfare and torture what they done to me. And like that girl said, when you go through those situations, like the one that was just on the screen, she mentioned that that's what causes people to go into porn and all this other stuff. And they were also trying to convince me to participate in being on OnlyFans or porn sites, and doing that. And I was like, no. So everything always had to happen by force would probably piss them off more, and they were like more vile to me because of that. But like, it's just like that's not even the worst things that they tried to convince me to. Is like, while they do this abuse, they try to convince you to do so much messed up stuff as they're torturing you, like, and like raping you and all this other stuff. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, I don't understand how these people always get away with this stuff, and then everyone wants to blame me and be like, oh, why aren't you better this way, why aren't you better that way? The stuff these people done to me, people kill themselves for.
Oh,
people
yes, they do.
People died the way, like, these people drugged me, they were beating me, they were raping me, all sorts of stuff. Like,
and
people don't
then
live.
Robert had the nerve to tell you that I would be responsible for removing your content off the internet, the same kind of stuff of what was happening to this girl.
Yep.
Every person involved with this, either, like I said, this is going to go one of two ways. Either you put me 6 feet under, or every single one of you guys are going to face justice, because that's the way it rolls. I'm not going to be the guy that's just going to wild out and throw a chair across the room. I'm going to find a way to make sure every single one of you comes to justice, because throwing a chair across the room will just get me thrown in prison. You take my daughter anyway, but I'm not that guy. They took my oldest, and I was patient, and I found a way to beat him. Same way is going to happen. You know what? God is on the side of the people, not the side of the pedophiles and the traffickers. Anyway, let's go to this next clip, because this is ridiculous.
And, if you can't abuse girls yourself, just pay these guys to abuse them for you.
Totally.
Another thing that popped out for me was they said, if you're not into it, don't just smile. We'd rather see you get and cry. We want you to cry. Just show emotion. And this for me was really interesting, because the stories that I've been working on, one of the complaints from fans has been that they don't believe the models because they're smiling and happy throughout the scene. But, that is the reaction of most porn models. Like, they're on camera, they don't want to look upset for the fans. So even when the abuse or scene is painful, they're kind of faking it. Plus, they want more work, they want other jobs, they don't want to get a bad reputation as a difficult model, all this stuff. But what's interesting is, in facial abuse, the girls let their real emotions out. Like, they're genuinely upset, they're crying real tears, they're genuinely in distress in many scenes. And facial abuse are kind of fine with that. And this pre-shoot interview seems designed to kind of like cover for that. Like, oh yeah, but we told her we want her to cry, as if like somehow that makes it acting. But I don't think porn stars are good enough actresses to, when the girl has broken down and she is upset, for that not to be real. And I don't know how that can be justified by this.
Totally. And this is tricky to sort of describe, because without seeming like a hypocrite, and that was one thing. I got called a hypocrite by many people because, around this time too, not to shift the focus off facial abuse, but
it's okay.
there was a lot of smaller companies around this time that were shooting this type of porn. And like I even shot for another site, Asylum, that around this time that like I got offered a lot more money to shoot. And it was sort of around this category where it's degrading porn, and it's essentially sort of the same idea. Like they're trying to just get models to break down on camera. And it's confusing because, you want to look good. Like, you want to feel pretty. Like, you want to feel like you're an attractive model, but you're just shooting such a high shock value type of thing, thinking that, oh, this is going to cause a lot of attention on me, and it might be helpful to grow my following. And like once you sort of experience it once, you almost justify doing it again, because it's almost like, oh, well, I did it once already. And that's kind of what happened with me. Like once I shot for them, they made it seem like, oh, well, we're your friends, like don't think that you did anything wrong. But they almost like get you into their web, and try to have you justify doing this type of porn.
I've heard this from other girls as well. Like I posted something on my TikTok today, and I'll never forget it. The girl said that after the scene, she felt like, it's okay. This is my job. It's my job to be in pain.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. It was just so haunting for me.
That's a really excellent point. I mean, I can relate to that, because I was just a lost younger woman trying to navigate through the adult industry. Like I said before, I didn't have guidance around that time. It was hard to trust agents during that time. Like, you didn't really know who was
even
actually looking out for you. I didn't have someone, a mentor or anything telling me how I was going to manage my adult career. Like I was just sort of taking whatever work I could get to get me to the next level.
This is why they need guidance from men. And if you don't have a man, your father should be helping to guide you in the right direction, because like she said, she was molested and any of that kind of stuff. And so, but she still got into a situation where she got exploited and raped because, things come up. And as you look at this whole COVID and how the economy is going downward, how many more women are going to be in a bad situation? How many men are going to be in a bad situation? Right? They're going to be ripe for the exploitation. Right? You can see how this is going.
Yeah, and like there was and how they mentioned like how they're pushed to a certain point where you like where you're like throwing up, you're crying. It's like that's when you're so overwhelmed with pain and suffering that you literally cannot control it. That's not like a situation that's consent for anybody. Like that's not like I've been in that same position of throwing up and also crying because of certain things. And it's crazy to me that people will say, okay, well, you're a hypocrite. It's like, I understand to one degree, but this is completely different. Like what they're doing here is completely different. And like she said, especially women have this mentality of, I already done it, so I might as well keep going, because they actually can't compartmentalize those things. The only way for a lot of women to even be able to accept the reality of what happened and to come to terms with it is to feel like they're taking control back of the situation, and they end up doing it themselves even further. That's when they don't have like guidance and stuff, because then they're like, okay, well, now I'm doing it myself, so it's not bad. See, I done it. Like,
Yes. Now we're going to go back and bring back a clip that we watched a few times, but let's listen to the context of what Felicity was talking about, what was happening to her, and also what's happening to the people that are watching at the same time.
Yeah, it's been really incredible to see women like you taking, this message and using, porn as a platform for it, which is just so different. I mean, porn before was always, this dirty, seedy underbelly of media, and, it was just to, get guys hard and that's it. But now it's like it's become so much more complex, and there's a message behind it now, and it's just like it's evolved into something so much bigger than just porn, and it's been such an exciting thing to witness.
Yeah, and I mean, pretty much everybody watches porn. So it is actually a very powerful platform.
Yes.
And it's also powerful because when people are watching porn, they're often masturbating, and when you're masturbating and you receive messages when you're in that pleasure zone, it can kind of seep in, and
because it is an intimate, vulnerable time, right? I mean, people always privately, well, not everybody, but you know what I'm saying? It's like a private moment where you lock your bedroom door and you put on headphones or whatever, your roommates hear, God forbid your mom to walk in or something like that. So it is this private, intimate moment. So yeah, I could see how it is this vulnerable time that you could be, giving people not only pleasure, but, I don't want to say teaching them a morality lesson, but there's almost something to that there.
The way I see it is more giving them the opportunity to think of, to see different ways of being, or different ways of exploring their sexuality, different ways of experiencing the world, different ways of interacting with people. So even if it's for example, I've had fans that have been following me since 2003, fans that, just started following me because they like big breasts, never expecting that I would do a trans scene. And now, because they've followed me through this time, they may have never expected to enjoy watching a trans scene themselves, but because they're my fan, they've committed to watching the movie, and then suddenly they watch it and, wow, they're exposed to a different, a different kind of sex that they end up enjoying. I like that there's this, in that vulnerable space where you're masturbating, you're open to new ideas, and it's in the privacy mostly of your own home. And so, yeah, I like being exposed to myself. I like being exposed to different ideas and different ways of being, and I hope that my fans do too.
Have you had any feedback from any of your?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not saying that this woman is doing what those people are doing. Just putting that out there. But what she's describing, these people understand. This is why they're abusing these people, beating them, and putting through all that trauma while they're going through the sexual experience to just confuse and warp them. And this is why she was like her mind was just mush because of that, because it's like the domestic violence, except you're having sex during the time of that, which makes it even more confusing and more insidious. Then you have these children, say that 6-year-old that watches this, and the girls who are watching this, they're going to expect that this is the way that sex should be, and the boys are going to be being taught. And when they're young, the amygdalas that what teaches them what to get off are being keyed and triggered into this kind of filth where they're raping people on set. Right? That's wickedness. That is 100% wickedness.
It is a miracle that I have any capacity. And that's the strength of, someone said to me today, that it was amazing, how I am. And, they appreciate, I hear this a lot from people. And I'm always saying the grace of God and my father and some recently good people in my life for sure. But seeing stuff like this reminds me consistently just how much of a big deal. This is why when people get upset with me when I say, oh, the grace of God, my father, they're like, oh, you done it yourself. No, I didn't, because if I would have done it myself, I would have been on crack. or fentanyl or heroin or something, I would have been on the worst type of drugs ever if I didn't have like a father who was actively mitigating a lot of the crap that was going on and helping me along the way mentally. Because the stuff that I experienced, that this woman is describing, what it does to you while they're raping you and like what they're psychologically doing to you, like the torture of the experience, your brain, like my dad said, the lady said, her brain is mush.
Yes.
Was and so confused. Like,
and we're just going to bring back one clip now, and then this will make a lot more sense now.
Do you think that porn encourages human trafficking?
I do. You know, I think porn has, since the internet, has had a lot of negative effects. I mean, there's the couples that I meet on the road that come in that enjoy my movies, and there's that where I'm like, oh, that's so wonderful. But that might be a 5 to a 10%.
Yeah.
I think it's changed the reality for young men because it is so accessible, and because the scenarios that Brazzers has us do is so believable that in their weird minds, because they've been watching so young and there hasn't been any sneak to it, they haven't been forced to realize that they aren't 18, they shouldn't be watching, and all they have to do is click the box that says they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what I think that's done is I think it's really affected the sexual history of these young people, and I think older men, Epstein, you know, is a great example of this, and now we're going to watch this case unfollow. People with money are doing these things, and then young people are confused by these things. And what I've learned from young women that I'm mentoring in my travels that aren't involved in the industry is I'm realizing that young people are having less sex than ever, and young girls have been shied off from 1 or 2 experiences that they felt were violent and that I explained to them just came from porn.
Yeah.
The choking, the smacking,
hair
the
pulling.
spitting.
Yeah.
That's not, you know, and for a young girl who's 16, that's what the 16-year-old boy's been watching. So the first time he has sex with her, he chokes her and she doesn't know why.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what to do about it. And so they're having either sex with girls or they're not having sex at all.
Yeah.
And so I think what we've allowed our kids to watch and what we've failed here in LA because it's what we produce.
Right.
We failed.
There's the girls that watch it, and that's what they think it is, and they're just taking it. Like the one girl said she didn't know that sex was for pleasure until she was in her 20s and was raped all those years. So how many girls is that happening to? And then it's going to be feeding those boys that are wired that way because they're going to get a pass, and then they're going to do something. They'll be like, what? What do you mean this isn't okay? And that's because it's being pushed into their hands from a kid watching women like Felicity and all the other ones that were getting raped on camera. Right? And then the tech companies that are pushing that into the hands of children, and the schools going ahead to groom them so that they would be already open to the sexual content and to run from the protection of their parents into the hands of abusers. And fathers are the biggest thing that stops them because they fear the consequences of the fathers. This is why they tried to take me out when you were a kid, and they're trying to do it now, and they're trying to do the same thing that what was done to you to your sister. And that's what you do when you take fathers out of the picture. You increase the chances of that girl being exploited. Because stepfathers, or any man that's not the biological father, they molest the kids much higher. Women would be more likely to molest their own kids than men, statistically speaking. And so it's usually the stepfather or somebody else that comes in that does it.
Yeah, because even when we were watching, I think it was Jim Caviezel maybe done an interview, and they were talking about how the people who were really involved with this stuff in real life from the Sound of Freedom movie, how they said that men will be traffickers and trafficking young children, but they'll have whole families and they'll never touch them, which is crazy. Like, I mean, because if you're an actual trafficker, you think that they would, they do. I'm sure some probably do, but I mean, I suppose you're talking about actual regular people, but that just came to mind when you said that.
Yes. So anyway, we're run up on here on time. I'm going to close here with a prayer, but this people need to get this kind of stuff out. And people need to help the people that are trying to stop this filth, because if you want to go against this, you're helping these kinds of people go ahead and get raped. And that's really what it is. There's no two ways about it. If you don't know what to do, stay out of the way. But don't get ahead and shield these people that are going around raping people. Anyway, I'm going to close with a prayer and give you your final thoughts. We've got a minute left. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. Open our hearts and our minds to your will and help the men and the women to come together to rebuild our families, our churches, our community, and nation, and to stop these filthy evildoers and put them behind bars and give them the punishment they deserve. My prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. Yeah, guys, this kind of stuff is evil. It's not okay. It's really disgusting. And I really hope that you guys have a better understanding of things, because I don't know, like, this stuff is just, I don't know. This is also why fathers are important, man. There's nothing more valuable than having a fully functioning proper family, mother and father together. It's not worth it to separate family unless you're in extreme danger. Like, family is everything, man. Protection is everything. Anyways, thanks, guys, for your time and considerations. We'll check you in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, and we will ciao.